Next week, we begin a new liturgical year. It's the beginning of the church year with Advent. And I wanted to do something a little different today for a couple of reasons. One reason is because next week is a new church year. But the other reason is this. In a couple of weeks, you all, and you'll get a letter about it this week, you all will be asked to come to a business meeting for the church and decide on a call for me to be your full-time settled pastor. The way things work in the church, in the United Church of Christ, I was called here 2 years ago as an interim pastor. And an interim pastor does not have to be called by the congregation. An interim pastor can be called by the pastoral search committee and by the then by the church council. So that's how I got here 2 years ago. And then I switched from interim to designated term, and that also just could be done by the pastoral search committee and the church council to agree that my term would be longer than the interim terms, which are usually 18 months. But the pastoral search committee and some others have asked, would I stay? So that is a settled called vocation, settled called job, if you will. That has to be voted on by the congregation. In most situations where there is a settled call being offered to someone, that someone becomes a candidate for call, and that someone comes and visits a congregation for a weekend or a week, depending on how long they can be here, and the congregation gets a chance to ask that person, him or her or they, any question they want. So this is your chance today, because that call meeting will be on December 14th, and I will be in North Carolina. My oldest granddaughter is graduating from college, so I have to go back there to be there for her. I'm really excited about that. So I am giving you your chance now, in lieu of a sermon, to ask me whatever you want to ask me. And my husband's over there laughing, trying to think of something to ask me.
She's nervous. I'm going to ask
So,
what is your priority in your vision for our church?
I'm going to put it to you this way. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. What is my priority and my vision for the church? My vision for the church would be for the Lihue Christian Church. Well, let me put it this way. Instead of being known as the church across the street from Hamura Simon will be known as the noodle shop across from Lihue Christian Church. There are a lot of people that I meet, and a lot of them are connected with the church, granted that they kind of know where I am. Or when I say we're across the street from Lihue Christian, or from the noodle shop, Hamura Simon, they go, "Oh yeah, is that a church?" Yeah. So, and I think included in that priority is whatever this church wants to become in this community. The emerging church, as it's sometimes called in church lingo, is going to be one that perhaps is more of a doing church than worshiping on Sunday morning. Worship is important, but the church also understands that there's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives, and to a younger generation, worship may not feel relevant. And how we can make worship relevant again, I don't know. That's a question. I will assure you that's a question that all churches are asking. How do we keep young people in the church? How do we keep them doing things? But we're thinking of an older model of church. Yes. Akemi. Oh, Akemi's got the other microphone. Oh, Akemi, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, that's the right one. Okay. So anybody else have you guys, come on. I mean, I know some of you know me, but some of you only see me up here on Sundays. You don't know about the rest of my life. Deb.
Do you think you'll really sell on the East Coast and this will be your true blue home, or can you commit, or do you know? I mean, we've experienced love and then we move.
Yes, December 9th will be one of the dates. We're back in North Carolina. We have a meeting with a realtor already about putting our house on the market. We've talked about this a lot. We are thinking that what we will probably do is, well, Keith probably will end up going back for maybe a month or two because we have some repair work that needs to be done to put it on the market. But I'll come back and stay here. And so we'll put it on the market. And then we would probably buy a one-bedroom condo somewhere in Charlotte, the Charlotte area, should we move back there at some time. And also to have a place to stay when we go back to North Carolina. So yes, my plan, God willing, and the creek don't rise, my plan is to stay here, yeah. So, Keith.
I'm not going to ask you what I told you I'd be asking you. But I am sure for many, many years involved with Stephen ministry. And you were asking about things for us to have more involvement and helping with the church. Would the church be interested in considering Stephen ministry or something like that? And you might have to explain what Stephen ministry is.
I will. I'm not sure the Stephen Ministry program is on Kauai in any of the churches. Stephen Ministry is a lay-led ministry that pairs a trained Stephen minister. They're not ordained the way, they don't have seminary training, but they're trained in, I don't want to use counseling, but they're trained in listening. And they're paired with somebody who maybe needs someone to listen to them within the church, or it doesn't necessarily have to be someone from the church. I took Stephen ministry training, and so did Keith many years ago, so I'm a trained Stephen minister also. I was paired with a young woman who, suffice it to say, she was in a family situation living with her parents, and she was 30, 40 something, and it wasn't ideal. She couldn't get out of that situation for various reasons, but she needed somebody to talk to voice her anxiety, to just to have somebody who she could share her anxiety with, basically. And Stephen ministers are taught active listening. And so this doesn't have to be a young person. This doesn't have to be somebody who's physically able to lift things and clean the walls and wash the windows. This could be anybody within the congregation who has an hour a week to meet with someone and listen to them. And usually it's a woman with a woman, or a man with a man, or a teenager maybe with a girl, or a guy with a guy. One of the things we're taught is active listening. The other thing we are taught is not how to solve somebody else's problems, but how to suggest and guide someone through breaking their problems down, if they can, into small steps to take in dealing with something. I'm thinking about, we've got that 3-bedroom house back in North Carolina that we have to clean out. Break it down into small steps. One day, I'm going to take one day and clean out my office back there. One day. Because once you get that one small step done, you can have a sense of accomplishment, which helps you go on to be able to go through whatever else it is you're going to have to go through. This could be even in something like, I don't know, some people when they're filling out college application after application after application, they just get overwhelmed with what they have to do. But one step at a time, one application at a time, or one part of that application at a time. And I have the same problem when I get ready to write a sermon. And I've broken it down now into, okay, Mondays, I spend an hour reading the lesson in a couple of different translations, and because I like the feeling of writing, I actually write it out in longhand with a pen, and as I watch the words flow onto the paper and just think about the words I'm writing, that helps get the message in my mind. And then I don't think about it for the rest of the day. I may not even think about it on Tuesday. Wednesday, I'll find a book of commentaries and read what they have to say. Or actually, I listen to a podcast and listen to that. So, okay, now I've got more ideas floating through my head. But it's one small step at a time. Stephen Ministry training takes probably, Keith, how many weeks was the training? It was several. I can't remember. Yeah, it was over a month of time, and it's, about 2 hours a week or something like that. But it takes some training. But it's a good program. And even just learning, even if you don't want to be a Stephen minister, even just learning those steps can help you in your life, or help you with a friend who's going through something where there's a lot of stuff going on and they can't make a decision and they get stalled because it's overwhelming.
Pastor Cheri, over the past couple of years, we've had the opportunity to meet and get to know this church. What is it about the Lihue Christian Church that has helped your decision to come in from being an interim minister to being a settled position?
Because there's several things in that. First of all, I thought interim was for me, and I don't think it is. Interim doesn't allow for actually getting to know the members of the congregation over a period of time. Where staying with a congregation for a long time does. You get to know the people, you get to know their gifts, their personalities. And this church has I think this church has this aloha spirit, this spirit that I can't describe. Everyone has been willing to do things I've suggested, almost to the point where it's like, I don't know that it's almost like you guys need to make this decision. That's one of the reasons I will be back in North Carolina and not try to change our time to go, is because this is a decision that this congregation has to make. There's a lot of potential here among all of the ages. There's a lot of potential for just the way you're willing to do things if someone asks you. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be for the church. There are people doing things outside of this congregation. And just I see how many pounds of food have been collected. And there's not a whole lot of information. There's not a whole lot of, maybe we announce it on Sunday morning every once in a while, or it's in the breadfruit that we're still collecting food or stuff for the hygiene kits. But there's not a big push, and yet the pounds of food that come, it just, without anybody really, I think people have brought me stuff. This morning even, I was given some fresh picked lettuce, which is wonderful because I love lettuce. And you're what I have never heard coming here is, that's not the way we've done it, so we can't change. You all have, whether you know it or not, you have changed. You've accepted a liturgy that is not something you're used to. I mean, yes, you had a liturgical service with a way of putting the different parts in, but and I grew up with a liturgical church. We didn't sing, we sang all of our liturgy, and it was the same every day of the year. So I had it ingrained in my brain. We don't quite do that. We change our call to worship every week, usually based on a song. If when the ushers walk down the aisle and they're making faces at me and I start laughing, you guys don't get upset that, oh, they're not showing the right. You're respectfully casual, I think is the way to put it. I think you have a faith here that's very strong, and some of you may not know how to express it in words, but you express it in your actions. Phyllis?
Okay. Could I go back to what Keith was talking about, the Stephen ministry? I know how valuable that ministry is. As you described it, it seems like it is concerned with practical day-to-day matters that people are struggling with. What I wanted to know, is there a specific component or embedded in it a spiritual way of resting?
Yes. This Stephen ministry was started by, I want to say, a Lutheran pastor about 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. Yes, there is. I mean, if your caregiver or care receiver wants prayer, you pray with them. If they want to talk about, just discuss their understanding of a Bible verse, you let them talk about it. You let them express their understanding of their faith or their belief in God. Yes, there is, very much. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit about my faith based on the Bible verse that you heard. You heard the Bible verse from Matthew talking about not worrying, not being anxious. Consider the lilies of the field and how beautiful they look, and they don't do anything. Or the birds of the air and how they can wing through the sky and they don't really do anything. I mean, they do build nests and stuff like that, but they don't work. God takes care of them. This passage for me has been very important for most of my life. When Keith and I had just graduated college and moved to Minnesota for a year, we didn't have a whole lot of money. We didn't have much money at all. And so I worried a lot. I was really afraid sometimes. I mean, we weren't on the streets. That wouldn't have been a problem. But I worried sometimes, where were we going to get the money to I don't know, buy ice cream? We used to count our pennies so we could go buy vanilla ice cream and chocolate sauce and peanuts. That was our favorite dessert. But this verse kept coming up, and it kept reminding me that I didn't have to worry. Fast forward now to the age I am now, 30 years as an accountant or 35 years as an accountant, and now I don't know how long have I been ordained, almost 5 years now as a pastor. I don't worry so much. When someone asked me, when my interim job that I had in North Carolina was ending because that church called a settled pastor, someone asked me, well, what are you going to do next? And I said, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to wait and see what God has in store. And I could say that understanding that through all my life I had seen how God had been there for me, how Keith and I we'd never been homeless, we'd never been without a job. We ran up some credit cards, but we got to pay them off eventually. Hope is the word that just fills me with comfort to think that, I can come to Kauai and I can say, I can stay here. I have no idea what the next few years are going to bring, but I will stay here. So unless you have any more questions, we will go on with the service. And that was our sermon today.